We will wait
Is that
for
what?
a long time to start. So we want to
I'm
see
going to help with
our
because I
library
think
staff,
Ashley.
Ashley, Kathleen, and Agnes, they're going to present a fabulous program and show you how they get together and put these programs together. So welcome, Ashley and Kathleen and Agnes.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me? No? Yes? Can you hear me a little bit? Thank you. All right, how about now?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome. My name is Ashley. I work here at the library in the Youth Services Department. We also have Miss Catherine, who also works in children with me, and then Miss Agnes, who's our teen librarian and our adult supervising librarian. So she's on the other side. The dark side. Or we're the dark side.
We're the lights.
You're the light, we're the dark. Okay, sorry, Star Wars.
The children's, it's dark.
This is how we're going to be all the time. Really quick, before we start our presentation, I do want to do a quick library update. I've been included with the rotation, so you'll see me every couple months. Lucky you guys, right? But Miss Elise, who's our library manager for the Murrieta Library, wanted us to mention that we have 2 new databases online. So for those of you who don't know about our databases, it comes free with your library card. And the state of California awarded us, I think it was, $3 million provided to the public libraries for K-12 students in our area. So we've got 2 new databases. It's Britannia and Learning Books. So I can pass this around, or I can leave it right over there so you can look. So basically, they're lesson plans, book sources, images, anything that students will need for their classroom, and it's all free. So, and everything is coming from trusted sites. They can cite their information, and it's not like Wikipedia, right? Because that's not reliable. So that is free for all of our residents in Murrieta, thanks to the state of California. And then our summer reading will start June 10th, and I'm sure next month and in June. Oh, I guess in June. Okay, so next month you'll hear more information, but our program will start June 10th and will last 6 weeks. So all of our main programs are done now for the winter, spring, and we are starting to gear up for summer. All right, that's it. Any questions about library updates? Okay. So now, oh, you have a question. Hi, Carol.
I'm just wondering if any of that money came from the lottery. Do you have any idea?
I have no idea, but wouldn't that be nice, right?
It would be nice if they did.
Maybe they can give us more than just the 2 databases, if that was it, right? All right, so now switching hats. We are here to talk about library programming. We were scheduled in November, but because of the holiday, we decided to reschedule. And what a perfect time, because last week was National Library Week. And last week was also the 20th anniversary of the first official City of Murrieta Library. So that was last week. So 1999, the museum, the library opened up off of the 215. So perfect time. Can you do the slide? Yeah. Okay. So you have, do we all get one of these? Mm-hmm. Okay. Really quick, because all of us have in the library close to 300 years of library experience in total. Most of us, for me, like I'm in my 30s, but I've had over 20 years of experience. So we love programming, but we also have to remember where we've come from. And basically, it's been 69 years. So if you think back to 1999, it's been 69 years since the library has existed in Murrieta. So we actually had a county library for a few years back in the 1913, up into the 1930s, but then it disappeared. My parents had a bookmobile arrive to Murrieta every other week, and then it disappeared again until Carol and Dottie decided this is enough, and they built their library. And then in 2007 is when I came on board here at the library, and we opened up this beautiful building. So we are aware of where we've come from. We are aware of kind of what the library is about. So we'll continue with that. Switch slides. All right. So when you think of library, what's the first thing that you think of? How many of you been in here when the kids are all doing a program and it's completely quiet? Never, right? We are a very noisy library. Part of it is our acoustics. We have a nice, beautiful vaulted ceiling with a nice concrete floor. So naturally our building's not that quiet. But it's a different change in how we perceive the community. So back when we were all younger, we were able to sit through longer stories. We didn't have technology. We were for reading, for learning, but that has completely changed. So now we are much more noisier. Miss Catherine and I are called teachers. Well, not teachers, but we help them learn how to get ready for kindergarten. We give them sources to kind of take home. Miss Catherine does a lot of makerspaces. You'll see that later. So we're more of a learning environment now in a way that we weren't before. During the recession, the library stayed open. All of our stuff kind of got depleted, but we remained open to help them through the recession. I see her inching. I see her inching.
I'm a big fan of quiet libraries. I don't know if it's just my age. I love quiet library atmosphere. So it's a hard adjustment for me. It's a hard adjustment for many of us. But to see people come in loudly talking on their cell phone, yelling for their kids across the library, and you cringe. But that's the way libraries are going. And we can't walk around anymore and shh, although we secretly want to. So what we've had to do is change our thinking and embrace that it's different. We may not agree with it at first, but there's nothing really you can do about it. People are so used to their phone culture and their talking and their noise, they don't quiet their voices when they walk in anymore. They just don't. So we've kind of had to adapt to that. And I just wanted to add that we're not necessarily pro, but we just have to go with the flow on that.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, definitely. So between that, because there's also tech, and that was my next thought, is the library is now all online. So we have to kind of adapt and relearn our way of thinking. So instead of a card catalog, it's now on the computer. We now have databases instead of encyclopedias. We have tablets they can check out and take home. We have video games they can take out and go home. So everything has completely changed. When I do story time on Thursday, those kids cannot sit through a 40-page book anymore. I will have to do a quick book, a few songs, get them dancing, and then try and sit them down and do another book, right? So it's just the way that our world is slowly changing. We have to adapt. But the one thing that you will notice with everything that we do is one thing has stayed consistent, and that is that we're free. So we don't charge for our programs because of you guys are the friends of the library. We don't charge for them to come into the library, and we charge very minimal if they were to lose or damage or not return any items, basically. So that is the only thing that we charge for. Everything else is free, and that's something that the libraries will continue to do, and that is something that we also have to adapt. We have to kind of think what the community needs, which brings me to our next slide. I promise it gets better because Ms. Catherine will come up shortly. I went to a workshop a few years ago, and the one thing that stood out is that we are not a business. I mean, I've been in libraries since 2007. I know we're not a business. I know we're here for a service. But it really hit home when it comes to us learning about programming, right? I like dinosaurs, so I'm going to do a program about dinosaurs. I like Harry Potter, so I'm going to do a program about Harry Potter. But is that what the community needs, or is it what I want them to need, right? So we have to readjust our thinking. So the one thing that the presenter said is, we are not here to fit the community to our needs, we are here to fit the community needs. A lot of that came from homelessness, which we are seeing a rise in Murrieta. We are seeing a lot of working families. We are seeing, especially during the recession, families not able to afford preschool for their children. So they are walking into kindergarten completely unknown. Miss Catherine did a makerspace program a few years ago, and a month after that, a mom said, my kid's 10 and he's never held a tool in his hand. So we have to give the community what they need, even if they don't know what they need. So we have to be very aware and mindful when we are working within the city, when we are driving within the city. We have to be aware of what's going on the internet, through our schools, and through our country. It can get kind of overwhelming because we have to provide that. Free ESL courses, safe space for teens to hang out, all that good stuff. that also includes how we think of things, and without getting into that far dark hole that we shouldn't get into, we all have different political and religious beliefs. When we're out on that library floor, we don't have any of that, okay? So when a child comes in, we don't judge them, we don't shame them. They can come up and ask for whatever we want. We see families come in completely different cultures, completely different ethnicities, and we have to be available for them. We have to learn how their culture is. We have to be adaptable. We have to mold for them, including those with special needs. So if you were to come in here, what was that, a year ago? You would have heard a screaming child, just bloody screaming, and all the librarians aren't doing anything, right? A lot of people would go, why aren't the librarians shushing them? Why aren't the librarians try and pull them out of the way? Because we've all been trained how to handle somebody with special needs. We've learned how to handle people who are homeless. We've learned how to adjust to all of that. And that is part of programming. We're not here to read stories and make crafts and all that kind of stuff. The programming exists beyond this room where we hold our story times. It actually goes into every aspect that we do. So when you see us, know that we are an advocate for everyone, no matter what they believe or however they practice. Anything you guys want to add?
Perfect.
Okay, next one. All right, so now here comes the nitty-gritty. We'll go quickly. We have 26 staff members. We have 4 departments, including our admin, and children's and adults, which includes teens, are the only ones that program. So when we plan our programs, we plan them while we're working the reference desk. So back before we became smart, we would do story time, clean up, take a break, and then go on to the reference desk. When there's a huge event going on, it's all hands on deck. So if there's like 6 of us here, we're all out here. So it's kind of crazy. It looks like a lot of staff, but right now we'll be down 2 people and we will fill it completely. And we still have to perform our programs, perform our services like nothing's affecting us. So I really want to point that out as well. You'll see that account services or circulation department has more because that's where all the books go in. And on the top portions, on the reference side, you see the top, those are all of our full-time staff. So in the adults, we have 3 full-time staff, well actually 3 librarians, my mistake. So right now on the adult side, there's 3 librarians. On the children's side, there's only Miss Allison. So Miss Allison is quote unquote the only master's degree holding librarian that we have. The other 2 is Catherine and myself. Everybody else is part-time. And we still manage to perform our programs. And then for adults, teen is only Agnes. So, and then we have 2, soon 3 adult programmers as well who take turns. Okay, next slide. And you can take one more slide. So this is just myths, how libraries have to be a quiet place. We're already familiar with that. My favorite myth is, oh, you must read all day. I only read during story time, and that's only if I had time to read the story beforehand. Other than that, it's a surprise to me. And then my favorite one, well, besides librarians wear cardigans, yes we do. We're all wearing cardigans. And we all wear glasses, we just don't need, 2 of us don't need glasses all the time. And I wear my hair in bun, so perfect.
I cut my hair, so it's not.
Or else her would be in a bun, yeah, okay. So besides the stereotypical, my favorite thing is libraries are becoming extinct. We all follow Facebook, it's called Murrieta Talk. Everybody goes on there to kind of talk about the city, and every time somebody brings up something about the library, I always get comments on there that goes, libraries still exist? We have a library? You know, and yes, we do. And I have to be professional, but I really want to put on there, yes, and you should be very grateful you don't need us. When I worked at the last library I worked at, it was in the middle of the recession, and we had an adult come in every single day. We were open 7 days a week, and spend from opening to closing looking for a job for 2 years, every single day. Finally, she ran in one day screaming, yes, in a library, on the top of her lungs, I got a job, I got a job! And everybody just erupted into screams and applause, and we all went hugging her. That's what libraries are about. So if you don't need us, you should very much consider yourself grateful. If you really don't need us, but you still support us, then you know what libraries are for, and I'm probably preaching to the choir. So thank you. Next slide. All right, so our stats, because why not? Population has risen 25,000. Our items circulated from 2007 to 2017 rose 118,000. Library cards rose 2,300. And then last year alone, we had a little bit of dip. We only had 4,447 new library cards, which is still a lot. And then our door count was our highest. It rose 188,600. So we were constantly being used. Next slide. Your guys' budget that you give us, it goes to a lot of collection development. Our collection development is cut in half. It goes half to teen and adults, other half is to teen audio and children's. You give children's more supply money, but that's because we have story time, we have crafts, we need to learn how to put a pencil in their hand, we have to give them scissors. My friend is a 3rd grade teacher, and she says the reason why we don't teach cursive anymore is because we're still teaching them how to print their names. So our main goal is to get them in, have them use scissors, tell the parents, don't cut it for them, right? Don't write their name for them, let them do it, right? So that's where most of that budget goes for. And then that top one, the one that's $4,500 a year, it mostly goes into our summer reading challenge that's coming up on June 10th, and our supplies, which is to refill all that stuff for our crafts. Next slide. And then programs. This is my favorite part. So our free programs, when we started, well, we didn't start in 2011, but that's as far as back as we were able to go. We had only 162 programs, and in 2017, we had 365 programs. Because we changed up our summer reading challenge in 2018, it went down a little bit to 407, or went up to 407, just kidding. But we changed numbers. I don't know why I'm doing stats. Didn't have a huge lead like we normally do.
Interject a little bit.
No, just kidding.
Out of that 365 programs, it's mostly the children's department, and that's all their staff. That's a total of how many of you guys? 6 people probably put out that many programs. I would say adults and teens, probably we did maybe at least 50, and then the rest are all children's programs that you guys have generously funded. Thank you.
So, for example, story times. We'll have story time tomorrow. It's Miss Allison. She'll have 40 preschoolers in here by themselves. The parents wait outside. We do have volunteers that will be in here to help, so it is regulated. But she'll do it at 10 o'clock. We'll reset the room, and she'll do it again at 11. When I do it on Thursdays, it's preschoolers. We have room for 70 people, so this whole room is filled with screaming kids. And I perform story time for them, and then I clean the toys up, and then at 11 o'clock I do it again. So because we have so many people wanting to come into our programs, we have to do it twice, and we're still turning people away.
We record every one that we do.
Yeah, our stats have changed significantly, where we've actually had now a thing on our library what's LAC? Library Advisory Commission, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. We added that to now how many people we've turned away. During our summer programs, when we have a big dinosaur in here or a balloon person in here, we fit as many people as we can, and we fit more than what we probably should. We try and fill this room as much as capacity will let us, and we still turn almost that many people away. And we have 2 performers. So we have a performer come in at 10, they take a break, and we do it at 11:15. And both performances will turn the same amount of people away.
We're the only library in the area that does that also.
Yeah.
Everybody else does single performance.
Single
We have
performance.
to do back to back to accommodate as many people that come here.
Yeah.
Including Temecula,
Yeah, Temecula only does one now. Temecula has a little bit bigger space, but not by much, but they only do 1 performance. And usually that performer will then go from Temecula Public to Grace Spellman right after. So they have 2 libraries, but they don't have 2 performances. We have 2 performances. And when one staff is in here with mothers and daughters who are amazing volunteers,
National Charity League.
National Charity League. There's another staff member out there with more Charity League members handing out other tickets, and the children's department is completely packed, and there's usually 2 people, children's people on the desk, including our amazing teen volunteers at our summer reading booth taking care of everybody coming in to pick up their prizes.
And that's when you see admin come out, and they
Yeah.
have to answer questions, they'll come out to the desks and
Yeah, then you'll
crowd
see Miss
control
Elise, you'll see Miss
and-
Gretchen, you'll see Miss April, and you'll see sometimes the adult department just trying to help us keep our necks above water so we can take a deep breath. So with that, so going back to our participation rose over 10,000. Because you'll see our pictures later on, but we had to get extremely creative. For the longest time, our programs were only in this room. So for instance, when I worked here the first time before I went to another library and came back, we only had room for 40 people. Now, especially Catherine and myself, we sit there and go, what program can I do that will fit 200 people? And it will be in this room, in that room, and out in the garden. Thanks to you guys, because you helped refurbish the, well, Carol too, mostly, right? So thanks to Carol, we are now able to do our programs outside. And that's where you get the 10,000 leap from. Now here's the real kicker. I want to say we asked for more recently, but before this was done, when I was doing my initial research, we didn't ask for any money. So back in 2011, it was the same budget that we asked for in 2017. And initially, so in 2010, 2011, we only had 6,100 participants. So each person coming into our program, we spent $1.15 on. Now because of that 10,000 jump, it went down to 19 cents per person. So when we have a program of 200, we are looking at each child and saying, I need to spend 19 cents on you, I need to spend 19 cents on you, I need to spend 19 cents on you. And because we're librarians and because we know that we're usually the first ones to get defunded, it just happens, right? That we rather spend our money on first responders. We sit there and go, I want this, but how can I get this supply to last multiple programs? What can I use on multiple programs on? So we are learning to use that craft in multiple different ways. So pretty much. Now, if you were to break it down a little bit, and I don't quite remember the numbers, but for adults, it was the 19 cents per person would be a little bit different. For adults, because they have smaller numbers, it would be $1 per person. For teens, it was like around 80 cents, and for us, it was still around 20 cents for children. So pretty crazy. So next slide. And now comes some fun stuff. So you get to figure out kind of how we decide to plan our programs, and you'll see pictures of our programs. And I'll change it to presentation so you can kind of, the lights, so you can see better, okay? Here's Miss Catherine.
All right. Hello, everyone. Okay, so Ashley kind of touched on this already, needs assessment. What does the community need is what we got to think of. When I first got here, we weren't thinking in that way. We were thinking about, okay, we've got this much money, what will bring people in? That was the way our focus was, and I think that's the way a lot of libraries are focused, except for the larger libraries. So we're starting to think more like a larger library, and we're starting to think, okay, what does the community need? How can I provide it and still get them in and let them know that it's here? So we take a lot of those things into account when we do a program now. When I first started in libraries at Temecula, I remember we would put on, the children's department would put on these programs. Was this a cut and dried craft? Kids came, put it together. It has its fun moments, however, it's not really providing a need for the public that they would, something useful, like a skill that children can use, or developing their imaginations, because when you do cut and dried craft, they're all gonna look exactly the same or you fail, basically. So we wanted to kind of step away from that. Plus, with dwindling, more people means dwindling resources, how can we get more creative that way? You can do the next slide. Okay. So, one thing we have to think about also is we don't have reservations for our programs, so we don't know how many people are coming. We've had programs where half the people we assumed would come show up, and programs where twice as many people showed up. So our programs have to be flexible to accommodate that. So like I said, with the craft analogy, if you thought maybe 100 people will come and you had 100 crafts, you're just limiting yourself to 100 children, and then if only 50 show up, you've wasted $50 on 50 crafts for kids. So we kind of had to get out of that mindset too and think, what can be flexible that we can reuse over and over, or just be more exploratory. Kids like to explore materials and don't necessarily need a cut and dried kind of thing. Let me just read this. Okay, you're good. Okay. Oops. Okay. We like to promote the creative process. So some of these slides kind of show that. So we love this family right here. This is a fully engaged dad. He comes every single time. And the reason we love him is because when he comes to our programs, he is doing the stuff with his kids. A lot of the parents will see on the sidelines on their phones, not taking pictures of their kids, engaged in a conversation on their phone, because their kids are preoccupied for the moment. And we become babysitters. Now, that's another thing that so when we see engaged parents, so part of our focus has been to how can we make it to where the parents have to be engaged. So we require some parent participation on some of these now. And you know, it can be useful to have, I'll never forget the story that the California Library Association librarian told us that, yes, sometimes there's a mom there and she is on the phone and she's not engaged, but at least she's here. And you never know, maybe this is the only time she's able to schedule her doctor's appointment, or she's got a job interview, something she's responding to, and she's bringing her child and keeping them engaged and caring about them. So it's hard, you know, reserve that judgment, you know, you kind of think, you never know which is the one that's really taking advantage of the situation and who's just really using us for babysitters. So, anybody else? I want to give a huge shout out to these ladies. The Temecula Love on a Leash program, Margaret Grafin and her volunteers with their dogs. One of our most successful programs because we have it every single Monday. They come for free with their dogs, and the children lead to a dog. I'm sorry?
Without fail, they're here every
Without
month.
fail. They don't take a break ever. They're always here all year long.
Summertime.
Yes.
Rainy day.
Oh my gosh. And like for Easter, they have little rabbit ears on. It's so cute. The kids get so excited. It's become so popular now. They get 10 minutes to read. We have to time it and get them out. And they're like, I just want to hug the dog. You'll see one arm on the dog and they're reading a book. And it's just, can't have a dog for whatever reason, or just, you know, just love to come. So absolutely love them. And it promotes literacy because they're reading. Yay! You'll see one of Agnes's, this is you, right? Teen program.
Yeah.
Down at the bottom. Fox, he's one of our favorite volunteers. He's on the teen council. And he was also a participant in our programs. Doing science experiments over there in the corner. We also engage other city departments to come and help us. This was when the firemen came out and did a challenge. The children had to do fireman activities. We have lots of messy goops on our play and learn, things that kids can touch. Now you can't beat Canada's shaving cream, 69 cents at Walmart, right? Get 6 of those and give them to the kids and fill it up in the tub. Priceless. It's super cheap, and it might just seem like it's a waste, but it's actually not. It's a very, very enriching experience because who here would give their kid a can of shaving cream at home? You're like, no, don't do that, don't touch that, right? We clean up that mess, and so kids are just wanting to get their hands on materials, see how they interact. This is actually a science program. It's STEM related, science, technology, engineering, and math, because they're exploring how materials work and how they react in their environments. Touching is a very sensory learning experience. So very cheap idea, something that we can model for the parents that they can do at home without any money. And also much more creative than just putting a little craft together. So quilting is a term that we learned when we had autistic training here. So what that is sometimes, I don't know if anybody here has ever had an anxiety going into a large room with a crowd of people, and we see some kids, they walk in and they're like, they see all the people and they're like, I don't want to go in there, Mom, and start crying or whatever. Totally get it. They're not like me, I love crowds. Right? So we have created spaces of activities for kids to do. And some of them are quieter and some of them are louder and busier and more popular, but they're not all jammed in trying to do one thing at the same time. And there's kind of like safe little areas where maybe nobody's working right now on painting, so I'm going to go explore the painting. So it's an important thing to recognize that a lot of the children that come might have needs that are not actually physically apparent, that go beyond what a typical neurotypical child would need. So not just autism, but there's many different spectrum disorders and things that aren't, like I said, aren't visible. You don't walk around and say, I need quiet, or we just have to figure out and create spaces for these children. We've had a lot of parents come up and thank us for that. Just not assuming that their child can fit and do all of the activities that a neurotypical child could do. Yes, that work? Yeah. Okay. Is this you? Is this me? I think we covered most of this. Did we cover? Okay. This is an example of some of the programs and the cost per person for the program that we've done. And the reason we kind of lay this out is because we want you to know that we love everything you give us and we make the most of it. We shop around, we ask for donations, we think about how things can stretch. So money that you're providing to us is not just thrown away on some little throwaway idea. We're really putting a lot of thought in how we can make it stretch and make it fit. Yes. This program right here, this idea came out of a book that we have in the library called Rubber Band Engineer. He's an engineer, Lance. Lance makes, he has a website, and he's actually done programs for museums and things like that. So I thought, museum quality, I'm going to bring it here, we're going to do it. Rubber band rockets required pencils, rubber bands, paper, tape, paper clips, really cheap items, a lot we already had. But it was super fun because they got to learn how to design a rocket that would fly. They had to experiment. Some of them designed it and it wouldn't fly. Some went so far, you could shoot it here, it went out to the park. Wow. Really fun. That's super fun for the kids. And they got to experiment with, the design of the rocket, how far it would go. I had set up the Easy Up tents out on the street back here, and we had taped off 100 feet, 200 feet markers, that kind of thing. And I didn't get to see it because I was so busy in here helping the kids troubleshoot their rockets, but I heard that a lot of parents were out there super excited to get how far they could get that rocket to fly.
And then the Lego Derby. So the Lego Derby, we had an Eagle Scout build the ramp.
So currently the Eagles, the ramp to the Lego Derby is currently in my grandmother's garage. Park maintenance is currently trying to find me a space to house the ramp because we have no space here. And that ramp can be used for our programs and also the youth center programs as well. And my budget was $150, and that went to the wheels for the ramp. So that is something that we can use. So now this Lego Derby happened once, but we can recycle that over and over and over and over again. So in reality, we just saved the friends who give us the money. We've just saved them a program. Anytime we want to do a Lego Derby, not only do we have the supplies now because of it, but we can accommodate 150 racers because of that. So that's how we do about
Nothing now.
for now nothing because everything is already done. So
All right,
Do you
next
have people donate Legos leftover?
Oh yes, and thank you very much, Carol. You're one of them. That's another great startup that we had for this we have Lego Club every month. And I don't know if you've ever gone out and bought Legos for your little ones. They are so expensive. And we thought, we'll get a 500-piece set, which is like this size. We didn't realize that. And we'd already advertised the program. We were in trouble. We sent out a call to the community through an email blast, citywide email blast, and just let everybody know. We have so many Legos now, we almost don't know what to do with them. You open up that back community closet, if you've gone in there, it's just shelf after shelf of Legos. And so now we don't have to turn anybody away. We can package them and reuse it over and over again. It's a zero expense program every single month that we can offer. And it's most of it was donated. It's just amazing. Love our community. And Ashley was touching about how we use the garden now a lot, and it's just a fun, safe place for them to come out. This was fantastic. We had this last year. I don't know if you can see her legs. It's a lady standing there. She's got a big puppet basically on it. She walks and it looks just like a dinosaur.
Fabulous.
Right?
Look at the mess.
Right. So they get super, super messy, and it is a lot of work and a lot of cleanup for us. We love it and we're dreading it. We've got this program over in the left-hand corner coming up again this summer, and we'll have 2 of them, and we'll have hundreds of people come, and they'll just be making a mess, basically. And they'll be me, Allison, and Ashley, 3 of us doing it.
That's like 10 volunteers.
And we'll have the National Charity League volunteers, mothers and daughters, come out and help us with that.
And we'll all be tired, and drenched in sweat. We'll be running through the water.
Wondering why we ever do this.
And parents actually love the Play and Learn program because they don't have to clean it up. They said, I can bring my kid here in swim shorts, have him enjoy everything that you guys have here, and I don't have to worry about picking things up.
Yes. Super, but it makes it worth it. We dread it after the cleanup, but just seeing how much they enjoy
And then a week later, we're thinking of something bigger.
Yeah. Okay, so this is something that I learned, all 3 of us took a class at California Library Association offered early learning with families a couple years ago. Child-directed learning environments. So instead of us saying, this is how you do it, you lay it out, needs to be done this way, we let children direct their own learning and play. So it doesn't mean that they get a free run, they just do whatever. A good example will be this kid right here. I don't know if this was my particular program. We had, during a Lego club, we had see if you can make a Lego boat that floats. Legos don't, you think Legos float, but they really don't, they sink. So you had to figure out, and so first of all they had to think about, do Legos float? Create a boat that wouldn't take on the water. They had no direction except for some guidelines. And then I had to set water tubs out, and they were so excited to go out there and see if it floated or it sank. And when it would sink, we would then troubleshoot and say, well, why do you think it sank? And so they had to use their brain and come back, I think I know the answer. And they'd see somebody else. So we weren't telling them how to design a boat to make it float. We were giving them a challenge, and they were having to figure it out themselves. Cornerstone of learning, super amazing life skill. How many people tell us how it's done, or we have to just go carve our way and figure it out how to do it ourselves. So this is what we're striving for when we do programs. Also, it's a lot different than, say, an extrinsic motivation would be offering an incentive for reading something. We still do those. However, when there's intrinsic motivation, because they're excited and curious and they want to see what happens if I do this, versus we tell them, if you read this, this is your outcome and you'll get a reward. They're not really interested in reading the material. However, if you say, okay, what can you find out about it? It's a blank slate. They're not expecting any kind of outcome. And so whatever they do is super amazing and fun and creative because they've discovered something all on their own, and they love to come and tell us about that. And it's not, we know you mix yellow and blue and you get green. We don't tell them that. We just set it and let them figure it out on their own. So that's the kind of environments we try to create. With exploration also. So there it says children are naturally wired to explore the world around them in a hands-on way. So much fewer presentations, more give me this stuff and let me figure it out on my own. This was January before's makerspace. Community donated a bunch of things. I want to show you, I'm going to skip through this because I want to show you more of the new makerspace that we're doing. They just took apart something and they just tried to figure out what was inside and how it worked. Almost completely free. People donate their old VCRs and things like that. It was an amazing program. That's the one she talked about where we put the tools in the children's hands for the first time. They never got to do that before. Okay, so another thing that we do that's different is we learned about outcomes-based planning. So what is the outcome that we're striving for? Are we striving to have a more literate community, community more engaged in learning, knowing about the library, coming to the library, caring about collaborative type environments? So I think we never used to, as libraries in the beginning, we never used to think that way. But it's really important to, like she was saying, take a needs assessment. What does the library need? And how are we addressing that need? Are our programs providing what we think society needs? I hope that works. Okay, I'm gonna, really fast, before I hand this off, can you show the makerspace? Can you pull up the S drive and show, okay, so, super excited this year. I know you might have seen yesterday at the Library Commission meeting, I'm doing a series of makerspaces. I'll do my 4th and final one next week. And that's through a generous donation from the Temecula Valley Women's Group. Thank you so much. Let's go down. Instead of the circuit, let's just do the other one. Are you on the circuit? Response. Okay. Yeah, so if you just go to the images, there we go. No, the videos aren't really that good. So, okay, so what we did about 3 weeks ago is, I was really scared about this at first, and I'll tell you, administration and Brian Ambrose, assistant, yes, he was very nervous about this, but they gave me permission to teach the kids how to solder. So, so there I am. And these kids had to figure out how to create a robot out of household materials and some wiring and a soldering gun, a little helping hand there. What I was really excited to discover in all this is that how many dads showed up to the program. Usually it's moms taking their kids.
That's great.
How many dads showed up? And how many of them were so excited because they learned what we were doing and they knew how to solder and just took charge and helped out with the program and helped teach. So I had actually 3 dads in there that just randomly showed up and took over some of the stations. And we're into it. Yes, it was super exciting. And then after the program, I love that shot right there. Look at that kid.
He's what, 10 and using the soldering?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The program was open ages 8 and up, and I did have some 7-year-olds in there, some 6 and 7-year-olds. With, of course, with help, obviously.
All the fire departments across the street.
Right? And I myself did not know how to solder up until about a week before the program. So I taught myself that. I did a lot of research on, beginner soldering projects, and a lot of research on how old is a child before they can learn to solder, that kind of stuff. So probably several months worth of research went into this for me to figure out if I could pull it off on a large scale at this library with nobody injured and people walking away with a skill they could use. So.
Can you explain what a bristlebot is?
Bristlebot, those little scrub brushes that we got at Dollar Tree. If you put a little DC motor on it and a little battery pack, a power source, and some wiring, they vibrate and they roll across the table. It's really cute. Then they added their decorations on. So this dad right here, I met him for the first time last week because of this program. First time in the library. He now has, because of this program, said he wants to work with the library all the time and help. And he he was a former science teacher, retired, a former, I think he was in the Navy, retired, and he also taught kids, like he said he did a program where he taught kids to differentiate between male and female mosquitoes under a microscope, and he's excited, he wants to bring that with us now. Yes, so he's coming to my next makerspace. He's actually building the prototype for the next thing we're doing, which are little cars. So he's tested it out for me. He's told me, this right by this. I mean, it's just been amazing. Who you'll find that will show up when you start adding these exciting programs. People will start coming to them. You start being able to, build on their knowledge, and they're wanting to help out. So Mr. James Bowes, there's another man in another photo that's also a former welder that came and brought his own soldering gun to help out. And yeah, just super, really happy about this. No written instructions, I showed photos, kind of walked them through, positive, negative wiring and that kind of stuff. And let them experiment where they place the motor. If it moved more, I said tape it down, see if you put it in the forward or the rear, what's going to make it faster, straighter, rounder. So they got to, before they made it a permanent bot, explore a little bit. A lot of them failed on wiring, and that's good. It didn't work. I can't figure out what's working. Well, let's sit down and let's look why this isn't working. A lot of them, I discovered, burnt the terminals with a soldering gun. So that's just, that was not having enough people, not having enough instruction on soldering. So I've learned myself, so now I know how to teach people not to burn a terminal on soldering. For my next program next week, because we will be soldering again. I don't want to take too much time, sorry, but I did want to show what we're doing with Makerspace now. And I'm going to hand it over to Agnes, to students and teen and tween.
Hi, my name is Agnes. I am the teen librarian and also the adult librarian. But most of the time, I'm the teen/adult. You'll see. So what are teens? According to the Young Adult Library Association, they're from ages 12 to 18. But for our library, we want to include the tweens. So I just made it grade level. So grade, also coming from Ms. Joyce, it's from grade 7 to 12, which ranges from 11 to 19. Next slide. So with the children's department or the youth services department, their goal is to teach kids creativity, to teach kids how to learn new things, how to take in new information. For me, just to get teens in the library is my goal. So what it is I will give you a brief lowdown what it means to be, because this was supposed to be last year's, and actually have new words that teens know, according to my son, but what it's like to be a teen in 2019. They say that Generation C, a lot of them call them the millennials, or the Generation Z, where all they do is stare at their phone and forget about things, and they just want to be at home, play video games, be online. It's a selfie kind of world for them. But what it is our teens nowadays are much more aware of what's going on in the world. So unlike before, where we get our information is through newspaper, what we read in books, our teens know the information right away, from Twitter. As it's happening, yesterday, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Automatically, someone has it on a Twitter feed and they can watch it live as it burns. It's such a sad thing, though. But all this information is in the palm of their hands. So what are we doing? What do we do with the teens and how to get them into the library? Is first we need to understand what their needs are and what they are. So one of the things that they say the biggest concern among the teens is they just know too much, and in a way they're pretty sheltered. They don't have the real life experience that we had, because their life experiences is based on what they see online. Most of them are in their home looking at their phones rather than experiencing most of this. Even online dating is a thing. When I was dating in the 90s, it was, you actually have to meet the person first before you actually date. So next slide. I know I'm going off tangent, but did it go back?
Yeah. Did it go back?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Okay, so one of the things that I learned from my son is things to say when
things are, apparently this is out of date already because it's 2019. My son said one time, Mom, I'm going to go with you too, because I told him, if I ever get money, I want to watch the new Harry Potter play in San Francisco. He said, Mom, I'm not really interested. I just want to flex if ever. I'm going to go with you. I said, what is flex? Apparently, flex is not just like flexing your muscles. Flex is actually, just bragging rights. So there's a lot of things. There's on fleek. I mean, I don't want to take up too much time, but those are some of the expressions. Lit is like, oh, this party is lit, or this library is lit, like it's awesome, it's great. The favorite,
Go back.
oh no, it's okay. And like I would say that for the last one, because we're moving on to the next one, is the Friends of the Murrieta Library slays. So you guys are totally amazing, and thank you for contributing to funding our library program. So we're moving on. So what is our goal? You'll see right, number 4. You'll see from the graph like what our teens nowadays do. Most of their time are spent outside of things that school and studying is seeing friends, being out, using the internet is 18%. There's sports, which most parents encourage their kids to do. They have other activities. Watching television, if you see, is 3%. It's because most of the kids now stream. They don't watch live TV. And other, hit next. Maybe I'll do that. This is the percentage that I'm trying to target. It's 5% of their time. And how do I attract them to go to the library? Next slide. So far, teens are very busy. If you have a granddaughter or a daughter or a son or a child in high school, most of them have clubs, athletics, their pre-college seminars, all these things take up their time. And I also do a teen advisory council for the library, and when I ask them, what do you guys do? We don't sleep until probably 11, even 2 o'clock because we're so busy studying. It's so important for them to get to a good college, and that's something that stresses them out. And what I think that the library, our goal is for our department, for the teens, is to create a safe space for them to hang out and actually maybe in part learn something. But that's not our main goal for us. So, next slide. So what do? We host after school party at the library. We open it to high school students. I initially wanted middle school kids to also be here, but I was afraid of the liability. So it's only for high school students at the moment, but they do escape room. We do laser tag in the library. Imagine that. It's awesome for them. I locked them once in the computer lab without a key, and they had to find a way out of it. It's a part of our escape room thing. They also solve murders during one of these parties. I think one of the things that they like about it is just being themselves without any adult present, well, aside from me and another
And did
mom.
she tell you she made me get on the floor?
Oh, well, you'll know she
Chalk
is.
line around me.
And then next, over. And that's what I was telling you. That was the time that I locked them in the computer lab without a key. You can actually need a key to get out. So it was very important. The Euclid. Is it like on automatic?
Do you guys know what an escape room is? Have you heard that? I don't know,
So
some people are
basically,
familiar.
I have a bunch of puzzles, clues for them to solve in order for them to get to the next part of it. So they have to solve several mysteries, clues, puzzles. It can be riddles. They either look up a book, they search for items in order to escape the room. Normally, I create the environment. We've done Harry Potter several times, Fantastic Beast, a regular escape room, etc. So next slide. And another thing that, with growing social media and things that, kids are more aware about different things from different countries, I've also started last year, we did taste testing. So what it is last year we did weird snacks from around the world. So kids I actually bought candy from Finland. So, they also tasted dried fish from the Philippines, had like mochi snacks from Japan, other
They
weird
ate
things.
bugs. They ate bugs.
Yes, they ate crickets from Utah, I think. And they actually, some of them loved it, by the way. and they drank like grass jelly, things that, you know, normally you wouldn't buy or find in an American supermarket, but things to widen their, you know, palates, as they say. We're doing another one in the summer. We're doing Taste Test Japan, so snacks from Japan, and also we're doing taste weird snacks from around the world, part 2. Next, please. Thank you. Virtual reality. With this one, it's actually an expensive program to have, but luckily enough, I was able to write a grant for it so that we are able to hold it for the library. We have had the virtual reality set up for almost 2 years now, and we used to do it a month, but I took a break for the spring because I fulfilled the terms of the grant. But it's something where you put on a headset, and virtually you can feel yourself going to space, riding a roller coaster by just standing up, or facing your fears by jumping off a building, like going down and feel that plunge, or be like an astronaut trying to fix a space station and losing oxygen because you couldn't hold on to the...
Yeah, there was one with a dinosaur. I put it on, and a dinosaur, it looked like it came down the hallway and was coming, actually screamed and ducked. It felt like it was coming.
It immerses you to this simulated environment that it makes you feel, because you hear it, and it tricks your brain that you're actually either floating.
Agnes, you should do a virtual reality program for the friends.
Maybe on the next one, I'll bring it in.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
I do warn all the ones that do it, if you have motion sickness or you are prone to slipping and falling, I wouldn't recommend it. And I actually had to make the teens sign waivers from their parents so that they know that it does cause some kind of motion sickness. Next, please. Thank you. Our regular arts and craft. Now, for this one, we normally do a little bit of a more, how would I say this? A more structured, but not really. Like our art classes, is if you see on the very top, is they drew a portrait of themselves. So rather than following a specific pattern, the presenter or the instructor actually told them or instructed them how to create their own faces. So that's one of the things. Right here, they're creating a basket, but instead of giving them a pattern, I just told them how to weave the basket, and they created their own different take on it. And another one is a popular teen program in other libraries is henna painting or henna tattoos for them. Instead of getting a henna tattoo artist to come, they actually created their own patterns. So that's something that, you know, it encourages them creativity, but at the same time, it's something that's on trend for their programs that we do. Next one is the murder mystery party. So this one, I hope to be able to do it for adults, but I am like, right now I'm focusing on teens. Maybe one of our adult librarians will be able to do it, but here's a quick peek at what we did. No, just go scroll next. It should go there. And we did it on Friday the 13th. That's one of our lock-ins. And I actually killed all the people at the library. They were my victims. They were willing enough to lay on the floor and be, you know, right. See Miss Allison there, several teen volunteers. And as always, whenever I do my videos, you guys are always there.
Oh no.
And the murder weapon was actually Mother Goose. The victim was strangled. That's the... I know that when I talk in public, I get really nervous, but normally I wouldn't make videos. You know, that shows what I really want. That's just I want
You're
to.
either very creative or loose.
A little bit of both.
And so we're on my last part, why adult programming matters. I always say, like, the adults always get, even for donations, they're always, from other businesses, they're like, oh, we don't really give to adults. We do it for children. But adults are people too. So that's the title. We are all important. So why should kids have all the fun? They have this great program, they do all sorts of things, and the adults like, do we really need to provide program for adults? I mean, they're just here to read. Okay, let's move on. So this is from Raymond Rainier. He said that adults have long since been, to speak of, the neglected stepchild of libraries. I mean, despite being responsible, honestly, for 2/3, if not the entire budget and circulation of our library. Because who brings those kids to the library? It's the adults. And who actually pays those taxes? It's us. But we don't really see much of our programming. And that's why I always think that summer reading challenge should include the adults. And because they're the ones that are bringing their kids in, why not have them participate? By having the adults participate, if we ever go on a ballot for anything, like, oh, we want to get rid of the libraries because they don't matter, then they see how we are transforming the lives of their kids, but at the same time, we are also here for them. Because we acknowledge that we appreciate their use of our library and at the same time, their contribution to our funding. And let's move on to the next one. So, like what I said, the libraries are now realizing that if you create programs for the adults, they also bring not only themselves, they bring other people. Like when we do craft programs, you see, oh, I'm gonna bring my husband, we're gonna make sushi together. It's like date night. Or when we do like any of our painting classes. And one of the things that I like for our other programs is the ones that we transform people's lives. Our ESL program we've had for the last 2 to 3 years, we have one volunteer, his name is Kevin. Kevin works for a company and he volunteers his time every Tuesday for 6 to 8 weeks in a series that he does. It volunteers his time and teaches all people from all walks of life, from all different languages to learn the English language. And some of the ones that finish his program would come back and say, do you remember me? I used to not be able to converse to you in English, but now I got a job because of it. And that for me is something that goes beyond like providing books to people or providing even like any monetary things, but it's transformational. So, moving on. So here are some of the programs that you yourselves have funded through your membership and also for helping sell items from the bookstore, and some of the programs that we've had in the past. We actually have more of that, and most of the time, year-round, we actually get local people, local business people, local speakers that donate their services for free. So, and let's move on. And now for my final one. This is the one that actually is my favorite program out of all the programs I do because they're all darlings. Library for All is an interactive program that I started for adults with disabilities. I started about 1.5 years ago, and it was just an idea because I always see special needs groups or groups of adults that come to the library and they just hang out and sit down while their coaches are like, just doing reports, or they're just not running around, but going around the library, sitting down, reading a book. So why not offer a program that's already there for them and they can do something else? So let's move to the next one, and that's the next one. Hopefully you'll be able to see allow content to play. Watch it. Click on it. And it's just a little slideshow. It's not my normal editing thing, but it allows you to see the things that we've done and how happy they are with the program. We normally get between 10 to 20 adults that come to the program pretty regularly. We do rotate it. I see Miss Catherine there helping me sometimes. This is from our Mythbuster one, so we tried experiments from the TV show Mythbuster. She wants to have her picture taken all the time, so they're going to try it. That's Susan right there. also did little succulent gardens that they get to take home. So it's pretty much what they do in kids, like we also do quilting, like they do stations. Oh, they also like to do photo ops. He said he wanted a dinosaur, so I said I'm going to grab a dinosaur for you. We made gingerbread cookies, we decorated cookies. We also reuse some of the props that the children's have when we do our program. That's during our Halloween party. And that is in part with, I use the funds.
Fantastic.
The funds that we use are from the donation of the Friends as well as the Temecula Valley Women's Club. So we do appreciate all the help that we get. So, and that's it for me. I know there's another part of it as well.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up really quick because I know it's been, I don't know how long it's been, but so you guys can, on the sheet that you guys have, there's some teachable moments that are on here on how we learned. So we learned through our failures, so to speak. Basically, let's see if I can just pick one. Probably when storytellers are sick. So there was a time here where we had bereavement, we had sick employees, and the rest of the departments look and go, well, who's going to do story time? Because we're not going to cancel, because remember, we have 2 story times of either 80 people or 40 people. We're not going to turn anybody away. So we learned very quickly that Miss Jolene and Miss Agnes and a few other people have go-to ready story times, so they can pick up and just sit down and do a story time without any stress on the staff or the patrons. So there's more of that. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And our favorite library wins. Once again, you can read this. We have more than that, but we wanted to keep it simple on one slide. My favorite is when a shy child sits in front of the story time. I'm exceptionally shy. It will take me all day to recover from doing 2 story times. So I like it when a new child comes in, just like me, super shy, hides behind the adult in the back room, and in a matter of a month or 2, they're the ones first in the room, sitting right down in front of you, dancing, singing, all that good stuff. And another one, back at my last library, which we wish we had the staff and the space for it. We actually ended up doing it at the last library, ASL story time and bilingual story time. And we had a few deaf people that would come to the community, and one of the main deaf men would walk up to my 3-year-old and would go sign the word for color and then point to the 3-year-old, and he literally went rojo and did it in Spanish and in sign language, that his favorite color was red. So that just tells you it's transformation, learning, all that good stuff. And then I like to yell at the parents that the animals can be whatever color, because we'll put out colors when they're coloring, like this one was particular, a bat. We're making a bat puppet. All the colors were put out, a little roll-rounded pink crayon to color the bat pink, and the mom ripped the pink crayon out of the hand, put it back, gave her a black crayon and said, "That's our color black." And I go, "Not in this story time." Took the color out, put the pink color back in her hand, and go, "Mom, go sit down." So we have to let them be creative. So there's more to that. Next slide. And what's next? So really, you've already went through kind of everything that we're doing. But we have done creative makerspaces. We are also doing a more online presence. You can see us more on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff, because we're here for the community. Not everybody can come while we're open. So we have to be available to them 24/7. What's the #1 place that we can be present is on their phones. So we try and make sure everything that they have available here, they can have online. And then our dreams, this is just our dreams. So we are really go-getters. We like to, we're definitely like the workhorses. We definitely want to continue fighting for our library. We love working here. We know how special and fortunate we are to work here. And we have such a great friends staff, friends, volunteers, all that good stuff. Everybody is just so amazing that we just want to do more for our community. And even with the fact that we have 200 participants for any given program, we're in this area, we're outside, we've moved it to the park, we outgrew our facility on March 17th, 2007. So I don't know how many of you were here for the opening. I grew up as a recce, so I grew up in events, and it was literally I was there for the opening in 1999, but I was in 8th grade. So I was like, this is kind of cool. But working there, I'm like, we already outgrown this place, and we just opened. So we would like to expand not only our library, maybe further out, way many years from now, but it's definitely needed. But also to do partnerships with local businesses. We love to have people come out. We've had Freedom in Motion come out doing a free parkour course out in the garden, get them moving. Hiring more staff. Obviously, that's our biggest wish. It's our biggest wish. If time, money, options, nothing. If you were like, I will grant you 3 wishes, those would be our wishes. Anything else from that? But really, when you guys look back at everything that we do, we want you to know that when we are planning our programs, we think of you. Whenever we're buying our supplies, we think of you. When we are setting up, we think of you. When we are hosting our programs, we are thinking of you. And we're always telling our patrons, go to the bookstore, open up the door and say thank you, right? And especially hard because our afternoon programs are at 4 and usually the place is closed. But during summer, all of our events are at 10. And I make sure to tell them, I want all 200 of you, which would be 400 in total because we have 2 performers, I want 400 of you to open up that door and say thank you. And the next time you're across town, open that door and say thank you. So we definitely do promote because we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you. Anything else you'd like to add? No? So thank you very much for everything.
Any questions? Does anybody have questions? Let's do questions. Yes.
Yes.
Questions.
Have you ever done this with the city council?
No.
We need to, right?
You are our
I'd be
test
happy
run.
to. Yes, we should. I think we should. Yes.
I just wanted to tell you girls, I hope you never underestimate the impact you have. You're touching lives, that these kids will never forget these memories you're creating. Never. So thank you.
I get me chills, thank you. Yay, I know. That's what I really, there's nothing more fulfilling in life than knowing that.
Do you ever let people know what things you might need for your craft ideas?
An ongoing needs list, you have to.
Like
Ongoing is the key.
quilting
Yeah.
stuff, I've got beads, I've got stuff that I don't deal with anymore.
So we had in the past when Miss Joyce was here, I don't know if I know a lot of you remember Miss Joyce, but she had this big Christmas tree every holiday season and it had everything that we needed. Since then, I've been trying to work on an ongoing wish list. It's not completed quite yet just because of the way the tides have changed. We need to take a back seat to that. But we do have that. But ongoing, honestly, glue, paper, like construction paper, those kids never hardly use glue. So when they get a glue stick in their hand, plus it's cool to see, so they just twist it and twist it and twist it. So that stuff, what other stuff?
I wonder, it might be possible to create, I don't know if we could do something online, maybe?
Maybe like an Amazon.
Maybe a
list.
newsletter, put it in a newsletter maybe?
Newsletter.
Yeah, the Friends newsletter.
Yeah.
And we just have to be mindful because we don't want to overstock and then not
Right.
be able to.
No, we don't have space. So
We don't have space either. Our storage space is gone. We switched around some of our staff areas, so we're using an old office for storage. So it's pretty much non-existent. So
Okay, I just had an idea. Okay, thank you. So, what if, so we plan our for example, we've got summer planned. But I am doing, me and another coworker could be here, Jamie, are planning some STEM days, science, technology, engineering, math days. We haven't decided what we're going to do yet, but once we do, maybe we can give you an idea and what we might need for those programs.
Right,
And if you had
as
something,
needed, rather
yes.
than trying
When we
to
do our
find a
program
place.
planning, maybe we could forward that list of what we're doing
Put
and
it
what we
on
could
your
use
website.
onto you guys.
Or once a year wish list.
Sure, sure.
And then from there you had to build on your own.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thanks for asking that. Yes.
I think that Friends would be very interested in knowing what your plans are. You mentioned it, number 4 there. The plans are for expanding. I think when we originally had this library built, that was the idea, that this was the starter library. And that's why this land was so important. And we talked to a lot of people saying, don't you dare use it for another city purpose, because we want that space so that the library can be expanded. The children's room is right there, and
No, they
just
have to
expand
get
it out.
money to build
And
it.
we do need, yeah. So I didn't hear that, Carol, I'm sorry. What was that?
Said they just have to get the money to build that expansion.
Oh,
We would
yeah,
love
but
to
it
have a
is-
story time room.
If that is what
I think for all across departments, what we want is a story time room, which frees up this room, because one of the things that are difficult for the adult and teens is actually to even book this room. So we have to think of ways to coexist with everybody and at the same time be able to provide the programs. But if children's have their own room, then we can do more and not be limited with the schedule that we share with the rest of the city.
So this room right here is super packed. Miss April, who's in charge of the community room, a lot of the board members know her. She always tells us the room is booking up. Put your programs in now. But it's booking, it's booking. So sometimes, especially with certain things, we have a huge program in here and somebody else is using it right afterwards. We're trying to close down the library and everybody's in here trying to help us clean up because the program is right after us. So there's ways around it, and a storytime room would be nice. And also, we love this room, we're very thankful for this room, but is it very opening to preschoolers to come in for their first library experience?
It's dangerous.
These are, yeah, I'm always like in the middle of story time going, don't touch that, you know. But we definitely, it's more beneficial to the children to have a welcoming space that's light and bright and airy and welcoming. And we do the best that we can. But as you guys go forward with your board and your fundraising, think about the expansion, because like I said, I was here at opening day. We were already outgrown on that moment.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you all, because I'm just so impressed at all of the thought and everything that goes into every single thing that you're doing.
Thank you.
You definitely need to have a want to be in this job, because it's hard to come in. Last week, I had vertigo, and everybody's like, "I'll do your story time." I'm like, "No, I want to see my kids." You know, you want to be here, and you want to see your children succeed and grow and all that good stuff. So you can't be in the jobs that we do and not like children and not like the mess that comes with it. So, yeah.
And I've said this before, I did speak in front of city council, and I've said it before, and one of the things that I told about, the public library is actually the most accessible city entity for everybody. Child, adult, seniors, people with disabilities, people that are homeless, people that are looking for jobs. So it's very important for the city and for anybody really, for us to be there of service, and because we're the most visible, then our services should be on par with what the city, our community has.
To do that, so like I said, I grew up in recreation, so I grew up in fire. I grew up as the city was becoming a city. I grew up community services, I grew up in museums, and the library is the #1 core of the city. So we can't walk in right to the fire department and sit down and have a meal with them. We can't walk into the police department and go, "I want to see your criminals." We can't go and sit down at the or even dispatch or anything like that. We can't go to City Hall and be like, "Hey, what's up, Mayor?" You know, but you can come in here, and a child can come in here, a team can come in here and ask the most embarrassing questions, and we're here for them. And that's what a lot of the community tends to forget. Like I said, we are only available for the most part until they need us. And they don't realize that we are always needed, because without the library, the community does not exist.
I've actually had patrons come up to me and say, we just moved here, but this is my second time in the library because I made sure we toured the library before we moved here. They said the library really reflects how strong your community is and how good your community is. Super important. Yes, Ms. Karen.
I'm putting a quote in my next newsletter, and I put it in before. It says the most important part of the library goes home at night. It's the staff.
I love that one.
We never do not go home, because even at home, we're constantly thinking of programs, we're thinking of that little girl, you know, did that little girl get picked up, you know, did that man find a shelter, you know, did that man find a roof over his head? We're constantly going home with our jobs, so. Anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you so much, everyone.